Hello, everyone, and welcome one more time to our podcast. Welcome, Thomas. How are you doing?
Thank you, Mario. I can't believe, but here we are again.
How was the first time?
You tell me. I think it was good.
I think it was good. So we want to start by thank you everyone for watching and supporting. It was actually, we got a lot of feedback, a lot of interesting points, and we are here once again.
And we'll try to adapt to that feedback. We listen to what you said. We'll try to go more into details and other things.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we have today one guest. And I want to invite to introduce himself, Dovydas. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's really good to be here. I watched your first episode. I love it. So I'm happy, that you invited me. So let me introduce myself. I'm Dovydas. I'm head of UX. I work at Wix for the past 8 years and a bit. Time flies, I must say. I joined Wix as a product designer, and for the past 4 years, I'm leading the guild. And yeah, once again, good to be here.
Good to be here. And we have a topic that is very relevant for you, right, today?
That's why we invited you.
So, Thomas, why did we choose this topic?
I think it's very important to understand the fundamentals, between the product designers and managers, and when I say designers, there are many roles involved. Because only when you understand the fundamentals fully and actually to the depth, then you can understand when something doesn't work, why it doesn't work. When things work, at least in my teams, I can proudly say I think at the moment things work. But if they wouldn't, I would need to understand the fundamentals. What are the reasons? And as I'm myself coming from a developer background, all my career, I thought, okay, if something isn't working, it's not progressing, you're trying to do something, the usual thing would be, okay, let's check what's wrong with the development. But often cases, what you notice, that development is highly dependent on product management and product design. I think that's one of the reasons we should go more into details, because these roles, I think, are crucial, absolutely crucial for successful product development.
I agree. And Dovydas, how did you feel when we tell you we want to talk about this and we want you to come?
From the first sight, so, I think it's a huge opportunity because I strongly believe in collaboration of product managers and product designers. I think we are really close disciplines, and we share a lot of knowledge, and we can share a lot of knowledge, and if product designers and product managers can work together, so in that case, we can really build a great product. So from when Mario, you said, when you invited me, so I said, yes, let's do it. It's an opportunity. This topic is really interesting, so yeah. And
what do you think people that is listening today can expect after? We want them to stay until the end, right? To listen to what they can expect by listening to the podcast.
My personal goal is really, to show how can we collaborate, how can we put ego aside, and how we can achieve great results. So this is my personal goal. Mario, what's your goal?
Well, I think I come from the product, right? We have product, we have developer that come from the development world, we have from product designer. And I think we are here because we have a great relationship also between us, right? And I think it proves also that the relationship in between personal individuals is very important. And having the one of each discipline here, I think it will show very good to the audience that is watching here that there is, I don't want to spoil much about it, but you should stay and see where is the boundary, where we said that is the boundary, or if there is no boundary. So yeah, I think it will be very interesting. Thomas?
I'll also try to make sure that throughout this podcast we'll have a real discussion. It will be a little tough, so that we don't sound that, okay, we agree on everything. No, we're from the same company, but of course, everyone has opinions, personal opinions, and even different ways of working in different teams, and that's great. And I think discussion leads to better outcome. That's and I hope people listening, they will discuss with us in their thoughts as well. Maybe share the feedback to us again, and that will lead to better for everyone.
Yeah, and the most important, today we are incorporating our audience to our podcast because we did a survey. We sent a survey and we shared it on LinkedIn. We shared it internally a little bit, also at Wix to get some answers. So first, I want to start by thank you everyone that filled the survey. We got a lot of answers. I actually was quite surprised by the answer, and we got very interesting answers. I think it was surprising. Did you read all the?
Yeah,
all the
sure.
Yeah?
It was really interesting to look into. With some things I completely agree. Some things for me looked, like a bit shocked. Like I was shocked in some cases. So let's go through.
Yeah, but let's start by looking at who filled the survey. Right, it's important to understand who actually show us with the data, and we have like mainly product managers and product designers, where it's actually the target audience for today for us. And but we also got software developers, we got BAs, UX writers, UX researchers, and other professions like QA, product marketing, and so on. So in total, 103 responses from all around the world, because we use Wix for filling the form. That's a good part of working at Wix. We use our own tools as well, and we can see in our analytics from where the visitors came. So I'm very happy to see all these answers.
I'll just add one thing that, Mario is kind of one of the product people of Forms products. So, if you were filling it, you have some feedback, shoot.
Actually, the fun part is some people gave feedback, and we found some bugs thanks to this filling this survey. So we fixed a couple of things that they were here and there. So yeah, maybe let's start with the first question that we want to tackle. By the way, I just want to point out we got a lot of data from many different questions, but we selected a couple of the points that were most interesting because the other results were expected, maybe. How to say?
It's also important, to add one thing that, and maybe sorry, guys, those who were filling, we made the answers in a way so you're forced to select, because even ourselves, we were questioning, and thinking, okay, it would be a lot easier to just select both. Both are responsible, both responsible for that, both responsible for that. We went it on purpose to make sure you make that decision, even if it's, very close, even if it's 60% versus 40%, okay, just choose that 60%. So thanks for patience answering those.
Yeah, and we left the other option still in the survey, just to make sure that you can express yourself with whatever option, and it's not just like one or the other. And it was actually very interesting to see the other results as well. And also for the results of the survey, we group the positions by product designers, product managers, software developers, and we put the other professions in other. This was a suggestion from the business analyst in my team. Says it will be much more interesting because one answer doesn't really change one thing or the other. So we group everyone else in the other. So the first question I want to touch, it's a very interesting, and we are going straight to the point. How clear is the boundary in your team between roles of product designer and product manager? So Dovydas, what do you think about this question before we see the results?
Yeah, Mario, so I think it's a great question, first of all. But let me answer with a question. Should we have a strict boundaries between product design and product manager roles? This is,
you mean in the whole product development process?
Exactly, because people are saying that product managers are in charge of what and when, and product designers, they lead why and how. And I must agree with that. However, I'm always thinking that maybe it's better if product managers also know about why and how, and product designers knows about what and when. In that case, cross-discipline methodology could help us. When you have a clear methodology, a cross-discipline methodology, you can really understand what should be done and not only who is responsible of something. In that case, both of them, product designers and product managers, could really share knowledge with each other, and in that case, create good products. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, I don't believe in a strict boundaries of product managers and designers. I believe in ownership of the team, and basically in sharing the knowledge and acting as one unit.
There is ownership of the team, and I 100% agree. And I think we also touched it in our previous podcast when it came down to data. But said that, I think that each team is different from each other. And sometimes, depending the people that is in the team, some part should be taken by the product designer as a leader of that initiative and some part on the product manager, but different team because of the people that is in the team, the experience they have before, the personalities even, right? You cannot, some people is very, let's say, shy and they have very strong problems when it comes to talking with users, right? So they suffer, but you have then an extrovert in the team that it would be making more sense that they will be doing the interview. It will be much more better for them, right? So it's good, and it doesn't matter if it's the product manager or the product designer. It should be done by the person that is more qualified to do that work in that team at that time.
Yeah.
And one product is one thing, and the next one that you are building is a different. So it's not only people, it's also the product you are building. It's not the same to be building a technical product, and interviews might be maybe even done by software developers, right? Not just one or the other. So I think the boundary exists in different products, different teams, different people that is in that team. The boundary changes, and it changes on time.
It's a question: does boundaries exist, or like there are different individuals in a team, as you mentioned? And what I really like about Wix, but we are not robots. Like we are looking into each person individually. We believe that each has a different strengths, and we are always trying to empower them. And in that case, as you mentioned, different teams have different dynamics, and like one would organize something, what would another person would have more initiatives in other area. And for me, Thomas, I would like to ask, like in general, what is a leading, like one or another effort? So, like, because this is a thing, like, is it ownership only? Is it, like initiative? And yeah.
Yeah, I would even take one step back, and if we think even beyond product designers versus product managers, I think you really have a point. Like, there should be some cross-disciplinary action for sure. Like, if you're a team, for sure, like, I don't like when people say, oh, it's not my job, like I won't do it, or etc. Like you don't want that.
Usually when people are saying that it's not my job, we just don't want to do it, and we also need to dig why. Like,
yeah, for sure. Like my point is that it's fine if and I would say it's even really good if, let's say, a software engineer comes up with some UX improvement suggestions, or like if there is that's important. If there is some cross-disciplinary action, for sure, like there should be some kind of overlap, where, as you said, one thing is not just about being robots, but more about like startup vibe. You're in a start, you're doing everything what's needed, and it doesn't matter, let's say if you're an engineer and you have not to code, but maybe write, I don't know, something like product release text, or similar. So I think that's expected. Although, one thing I think which is interesting that we know in the industry, actually product manager role really differs between companies. And in our case, yes, we have some flexibility. We can adapt. If we have a product designer who is very strong in user interviews, okay, great. Like you will want that to flourish, and so on. And maybe we can, share with product manager, how we decide. Although, like, both need to be into details, what the users want, need, and so on. But at the same time, since we have this unclarity in the industry, I think it's interesting, for those who are in the product role, and one company like requires you to do wireframes, the others don't. As an example, in some companies, we don't even know what is user interviews. They don't care.
I'm not sure those companies are successful ones.
We will be surprised. You will be surprised.
Yeah, definitely would be surprised. There are big corporations, like everything is working, financial results are great, things work, like why to improve? And I think for those cases, and for in general, that's why it's interesting to dig a bit deeper, what's this product role about? And I think that's why we're taking now this angle. Okay, so what is, designer versus manager? Is there an overlap? How we should divide between themselves? But hey, maybe let's check what...
Yes, let's take a look at the results. Maybe we can look at what they said. We have first one very interesting. I didn't divide it by profession. I wanted to see how people feel, and we gave them the option to choose very clear, unclear, and so on. So the majority of the people believe that there is a rather clear boundary in between product manager and product designer. And I think it shows what we are talking, right? That it's clear what I have to do, and it depends also on the team that we are working on. But if we take a look at per profession, right, what each one of the professions said, you can see that product designers and product managers have it actually rather clear. It's like very driven. Where it comes from people that see it from the outside, right, software developers, the distribution is more like linear, right? It's more software, very clear and rather clear were more or less the same. Any comments? Do you think about the results, Dovydas?
Yeah, like regarding both product manager and product designer, so it makes sense that for them it's rather clear. And regarding other disciplines, so it means maybe we are not involved so much into...
But do you think it's a problem? Because if you have a developer that doesn't know to whom to talk a specific point, right? It could be the A/B test, it could be what the user is thinking, and it's actually rather not clear. What do you think? Is not a problem for the team?
It depends on the team itself, like because there's no black or white. I cannot just say an absolute something. So if we are going with an example, with like imaginable example, so if the developer doesn't know with who he should talk regarding usability testing, so maybe it's not good. But what I would expect from, for example, he asked product manager regarding usability, I expect that, okay, he would, talk with product designer, he owns it. And so it's once again about a partnership. In my opinion, in industry in general, while creating a product, so it's not that people are working, really individually, and we are, sitting in separate rooms. Each of them have one room, and we are not talking. We do, and this is just, a matter of saying who should do one or another thing. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I think team chats are a great invention when it comes to this question. Yes. If you think about this deeply, because you can just write that question in the chat, and you can see on the go who picks it, or if picks it, and if at the end of the day the question is answered, maybe it's okay. You leave some space to the team.
But don't you think sometimes, I remember the post you wrote on LinkedIn that there was one sentence that struck in my head. It was like, when everyone owns it, nobody owns it, right? And this is, I think, the feeling that some software developers have. Like, oh, today the designer did it, tomorrow the product would do it, and then it will change. And they just feel like that they are not sure who they should approach to talk because the responsibility is jumping from one to another. You don't think that creates a feeling of unclearness for the developer?
But responsibilities is one thing. Output is also important. Usually if you have a small startup, so as we mentioned before, so product manager or designer, they do a lot. Same goes with software engineers or other disciplines. So, and if the output is it's great, and if we can work in such an environment, so I don't see it as a bad thing.
Okay.
So I think if something is struggling, so this is what teams should talk about and say, look, we don't have a clear ownership. We need to define who do what.
But then there is a need of a clear ownership, because at the beginning we discussed, right, that there is no one source of truth. Let's say the research is not done by one discipline or the other. Both needs to do this, but we agree that we need an ownership. Right?
But ownership, this is, a question. What is ownership? If I organize or initiative user research, for example, am I owner by definition?
So we can take an example. So let's imagine a hypothetical situation now. So let's say, there's a team, some hypothetical team. There is a product manager, product designer, developer, so on. And let's say we know that in that team, let's say user interviews aren't happening, and we can see a lot of bad user reviews, and we look at the backlog of the team, and we see that anytime soon, those issues will not be addressed. It seems that people, that the product team is basically not taking, that, not looking at it. You need to do something. You need to basically intervene, talk to that team, or who. So, and that's the interesting part. To whom you will talk first.
Yeah, so I think ownership is kind of equal to expectations, what is expected from each discipline. And with this, I strongly agree, because like it's not only ownership, it's really like what I expect from product manager.
Correct.
What I expect from software engineer. I do not expect from product manager that you would code and would like deploy. You can do it,
But the boundary there is very clear, right? Because it also comes with a set of skills. But in the product manager and product designer, there is a lot of the, let's say, work that we need to do where the skills are similar or the same, right? It's like research. Skills are very similar. Yes, in product designer you might look more at the UI, where your product might focus more on the experience or even the pricing of the functionality. There is a lot of points that still are far away from each other, but I think that the intersection in between both is quite big compared to, for example, the research that a developer will do on the same function, even though they also should do the research, right?
Yeah, but I think all of us, we can agree that it's expected from both product designers and product managers to do a research. And in my opinion, if we would just put a research only of visual design for a product designer, I think it's really a small area. A good product designer would always think about business. And this is like a separation between UX designer and product designer. It's not only user technology and design, but it's also product, it's a business.
But if research is not happening, like Thomas put example, there is no research happening.
So this is what I'm saying. I would expect from a product designer that he or she would do it. And this is like the difference I'm trying, like to say that one thing is ownership, but another thing is, and the most important, like what is expected from you, from your role.
And I would expect as well the product manager to do the research, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but it's still not happening. What do we do?
You need, like to UX should lead, I guess, in that case.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, Thomas?
You actually lead the user
Research, yes.
research part. Is that our next question that we'll look
so
at?
we have it a bit later. Maybe we can
we
jump
have it
at
a bit later.
Let's talk about research specifically, maybe a bit later.
Yeah.
I think about the overlapping efforts. The boundary in between, I think is very clear. At least our opinion, there is a lot of buts in where this line, even if this line should exist, it's moving. Sometimes it's shared, sometimes it's very clear. And we have examples of all of them from the survey, so we will take a closer look. But I want to talk about something very interesting. It's about the overlapping efforts, right? We have talked that sometimes, right now, we have the efforts that are shared in between. So we ask in our survey how often, or if it happens at all. So maybe we can take straight a look at the data from the survey. And we divided this time straight by professions, and we see that the overlapping efforts in the eyes of the product managers are rarely happening, where like in the product designers, it turns more to the often. What is your read on this, Thomas?
I think this is very interesting, like especially following our previous conversation, on one hand, usually, that's my suspect. Usually, PMs are kind of taking the organizational role within the team. So they are, in a sense, often, a bit shaping those responsibilities, because even if, let's say, I guess you and I would agree on this one. I'm not sure about Dovydas, but that user research is more on a product manager side, as when it comes to the initial, let's say at least initial
to
ownership.
Initiate it.
Yeah, to initiate it. But depending on the need of that research, it might also be taken by the product designer. And in that sense, I think what this graph shows and tells is that, okay, for product managers, more or less it should be clear, and because they are actually influencing that. Whereas as a product designer, I'm not sure how often you have that power to influence over PM. Actually.
And I think it shows a problem. And it shows the problem that some designers might feel that their job is being done by someone else. It's like, I am doing something that is overlapping to someone, and it's not a cool feeling to have that you're in a team. You think you should be doing something and someone else is doing for you. So it's not nice.
I see. I have a bit different picture. And, by seeing that graph, so for me, it shows that product designers want to do more. That means they have more overlaps with product managers. And I think it's great.
But don't you think it comes from the past, right? Because product designers, like long ago, right? Not in the last couple of years, product designers were doing everything. And we had project managers in the companies that eventually there's no more project managers in companies. And we understood that we need to be more product focused. And this profession stopped being such a big thing on the IT sector. And a lot of them end up being in the product management role and kind of like started taking some responsibility that product designers were doing before.
Like, once again, I see things a bit different because look how everything developed, right? So at first, everyone was visual designers. We Don Norman in early 90s, he found out the UX designer as a profession, so as a term, UX design. And before that, by creating visual things, we still created experience. But from that moment, we started to look into more users, into more people, and trying to create not only visual appealing things, but also really comfortable and that people could use it, without any issues. And I believe that in the past, it was really clear boundaries. A product manager is giving for you a product analysis, product specification. We do all the market research, all the competitor research, and visual designer, he's taking and he's kind of as a tool. He's just implementing what product manager is doing. And in nowadays, it's way different. And once again, seeing through the graph, we can see that product designers want and actually do way more than before.
So you think the boundary got like more like...
Yeah, this is, what I strongly believe. The boundary is not strict anymore. It means...
But it used to be strict. So you think we moved from the moment where like there was a very clear boundary, you do this, I do this, to like, hey, now there's like more intersections in between.
Exactly. Okay. Because we will talk in a moment about, how... what should lead what, but if I'm working all on visual design or creating wireframes, I think it's, at least for me, it's kind of boring.
Yes, it's boring.
I want to have an impact, and it's for me that impact word. It's really important because 8.5 years I joined Wix. And HR asked me, okay, what you want to do? And I said, I want to make an impact. And it doesn't mean, I want to lead. No, I want to have a great collaboration with product managers, with software engineers, and that I not only be as a tool, but I would be as a partner, and we can really develop a good product. So we can see from the graph that maybe product managers, don't want, this is an assumption, that it would be overlapped. But designers have a lot of ambitions, and they are stepping out of their, profession, discipline, and trying, to do more.
And I think, if you allow me to complement on what you have said, I think I have enjoyed the most building products when the relationship between the product manager and the designer was very strong. Those moments is you feel that you're actually building great products and you are unstoppable because you are both going together, and like each one, it's even, you don't even need to talk to each other. You know what you have each one to do. Nobody said it. You just know the person and you move on. So that's very important. You wanted to add something.
Now, thinking again about this data, hearing Dovydas, and then I thought, okay, maybe there is this overlap that designers think exists. Because they get that research from a product manager, look at it and think,
not good enough.
Not good enough.
You said it.
And
I'm trying to be polite.
Does it mean that we have a problem with product managers not knowing how to do research? That's how you use your rep?
Actually, I think it might be one of the reasons, depending, on the product managers and so on. But I told you guys this while we were coming actually to this place that I personally have worked in a situation when basically you don't have a product manager for quite some months. And yes, in theory, I had to step in a bit more, but there is many other things, couldn't have
it was not
enough
couple
time.
Of months, it was a long period.
Yeah, it was actually a long period. And I would say I have amazing UX design team and they covered it. So, things are possible. Yeah, of course, like, let's not go into details what could have been done better and so on, but it was working. And I know that it wasn't like a unique case. There are more teams where this was the case.
No, the product is kept being developed because we have to keep developing the products and people.
And research was happening, interviews were happening.
And I don't think that it was just the designers that step in. You step in more and cover part of the work that product managers. So it was like, again, it's more about the team step in to solve a situation that they're into. I don't think it's sustainable in a long period because you get burned off.
You need a partner.
You need someone to talk. If the conversations are not interesting, you get bored on your work.
Yeah, because what is really important is to have like a partnership. If you are alone and you really, like trying, like to create something great, but you don't have, to talk with someone to have that conflict, and a conflict is really good because you can really and we do, Mario, by the way, a lot. We really talk. We discuss, have many arguments. And
this week we had 1 hour talk.
Yes, and it wasn't even enough.
Yes,
guys, I can leave you alone and go.
Yes, but the good thing is that we always agree at the end of a meeting. And if you're alone, personally, I would miss it. Because I don't have, different opinion. I wouldn't have someone who would challenge me.
Yeah.
And, your example showed, what I'm saying, there's no strict boundaries between product manager and product designers. And product designers really have a lot of ambitions. And they really try, to do more, even if it's not expected. Because they want to grow, they want to learn, and they want to own things.
But it's interesting you say that because I want to take a look at our next graph.
Okay.
Because we also ask, is it actually beneficial to have these overlapping efforts, right? And this was one of the shocks for me because we have a 50-50 almost situation. What is going on? Like 50% of the people says yes. And actually, I have to say, I didn't put the distribution between professions because it was 50-50 in all the professions. So it was like, really, there was no one saying one side or the other.
It reflects our discussion a little, no?
You think? I was surprised when I saw it the first time. I was like 50-50. I thought it was going to be more to one side or the other, but there will be more of an agreement. It seems that it's...
and it's 50-50, as you said, across every discipline.
Yes, across every... There is a little variation in between one is a bit, but this very small variation, and business analyst said it's not relevant. More a 50-50.
Thomas, you mentioned that, if someone is doing a research and someone is not happy with a result, so I think it's not beneficial to, to have it as that we are not working together. Because if you need to do something in order to make it better, so that overlap and that, having some task duplicated, so it's not for good.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to look from different perspective, so I think it's better to do it together. And I really remember when I worked as individual contributor, I had a great product manager, Rafael from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And we always did all competitor analysis, all the research, product analysis in general together. And we, divided ownership even by doing together what someone will look in one thing, another into a different. And we can really, have outcomes which would be useful for creating that solution. What I'm trying to say is that we are two different disciplines. Each of us looks a bit different to the things, but then you're working together, so we have more diverse. You don't need to work, separately. You don't need to do competitor analysis by product manager and later by product designer. It's way better to create a competitor analysis together because you will have diverse opinion and you will save a lot of time.
I think in some cases it's actually beneficial to have some overlap, because let's take this, let's say product research again, right? Like when you're looking for different, products, competitors, state of the art and similar, let's not forget that this research is not necessarily like the output that, will go to production, let's say, right? It's something that there are two benefits. Like one benefit is to present it to the team. So, team feels more into the details. But another, which is even think a lot more important, is for you yourself as a person, like to click through stuff, right? And now let's say if only PM does that, but UX designer doesn't do that, not good maybe, because
No, you feel it on the designs. Like when the designer is not in the details of what how users are feeling, how users are clicking, you feel it on the designs. It's like something is wrong here. This is not how. And I notice a lot, like if the designer comes to the team and doesn't know that users don't enter, this is not their main entry point. And they start from another. You see it like, hey, no, this is. Have you ever seen like how our users are using? Did you check the data? Did you do any user interview before you jump into it? And you feel it is in the quality of the design. And the same happened with the product. When only the designer is doing it, then the product say, no, it's here. And then the designer said, no, hey, look at the users, talk to them. It's not there.
I agree,
right?
and I would just add what both of you said, that if product manager doesn't know and doesn't talk with the users and don't know how we use your product, so I don't think it's product manager. I think it's project manager.
Yeah, I agree.
You just plan the task and that's it. And talking about product designer, if he or she doesn't talk with the user and don't know how they use their product, they are just a tool.
Yeah,
and
or a service.
Yes, because you just implement something what was decided, and it shouldn't be in a good companies. It should be, like that people know what problems we are solving, and this is the most important.
Yeah.
But maybe you're in the agency, then that's the way how we work.
But it's
right?
not products, it's projects.
Yes, indeed.
True.
Okay, let's jump into what caused a bit more noise around. It was like you have to choose product or UX, right? Or product designer. So we will not go through all the questions we did again. We just took 4 of them that we found that it was very interesting. Said that we will publish all the results. By the way, we forgot to say you will be able to see, to take a look at the data and so on. It's you feel it. It's for you. This was a tool for us. And let's start with the vision and mission. Very interesting. I will start by giving my opinion on this one. Vision and mission is, I think, super crucial because it's the reason why you come to work every single day. You woke up. If you have no clear vision or not a vision or a mission that you believe on, you would not want to get up and come to work every day. So it's very important that it's very clear and it's something that you believe on and that you are making an impact, like you say.
You're reading my mind. Completely agree with you.
Yeah.
And when I saw results, I mentioned in the beginning that like some parts really gave me a shock. So this is like a shock because
don't reveal it yet.
Okay. You know how to keep secrets. So
yeah. Let's build a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, I think vision and mission it's so crucial because sometimes it even shows that you have a problem in your product. And I can tell you a very simple example. Let's say when you're doing interviews, and people ask, "Hey, so what's your product about?" And it's a person who basically isn't in your company, may have no clue because maybe it's something very internal and so on. And you have to explain what you basically do in your product team. And if you need 5 minutes to explain, about your product, something is wrong.
You need to wake up at 3 a.m. and to say it immediately. It should be super easy, really clear to understand to everyone. And yes, everyone should believe in a mission and vision. It's a crucial part of building successful products because when you have something what you want to change, for example, how you want to build something, maybe you want to shape the industry. So you need to believe in it and you need to know it by heart.
Yeah, indeed.
So
what did you expect before? What did you expect to see? Why it surprised you? What did you expect to see? Yes, let's start by what is not there.
Yeah, I expected that it would be both.
Yeah, but it was not in the options, right?
So I expected that people would select other and would write that it's team.
It happened in a lot of questions, but that's I think why it was a surprise because in a lot of questions, a lot of others, while in this one it wasn't. It was one discipline.
I think there is a lot of companies where product manager is called a CEO of a product, and if it's CEO,
is the CEO of the company who makes the mission and vision. And set it in stone.
People would not believe, if we didn't took apart in defining the vision and mission, I think we would not believe in it. And
So does it mean that when you have a new hire, your mission and vision should change?
no, you need
But
to
they were
select
not-
really carefully what you are hiring. And by the way, this is what I really like about Wix. Some people are saying that our recruitment process is really tough. It's long. I would say that first of all, it's not too long and not really tough. But like we are selecting people who really like have the same vision. Like they want to shape the internet.
Yeah.
We want to let everyone to build their own dreams online. And we have that, so in that case, it's way, way easier. And if we are talking about, like companies like forms like members area and loyalty, so also you're looking someone who is passionate about it.
Yeah, if they don't have passion, it's hard.
But at the same time, like, and I think this is even more important, is that, and it's part of your job as well, like to make sure that people are not afraid to question it every day. Every
Yes.
day, like,
Yeah.
whenever
this the
there's
right direction?
Is this the right direction?
Yes.
And it's
Is
completely
this our
quiet,
real
yeah.
mission?
Yeah.
And like I have written 2 missions and visions in Wix for 2 different companies. I have to say is the part I enjoy the most, because it's like, is this really what I want to do my next 4 or 5 years of my life? So it's surprising. But let's take a look at the results. Very, very, very interesting, because everyone said it's a product manager responsibility.
As I said, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I think it's not only about...
By the way, you have to sorry for interrupt. You have to look at it that pro designers in this case were a bit more saying it's a both thing. Where like product managers, it was majority going, this is my work, don't take it away from me. Huh?
Yeah, I think we need to look at engineers. We're very frank here, looking from a side.
Yeah.
It's clear, very telling. It's PMs.
Yes.
For me, it's quantitative data, and as you mentioned, by the way, in your previous podcast, you should not be data driven, you should be data informed. So we have a data, quantitative data. And I would love if someone from who filled that survey would talk with me, will write me on LinkedIn to talk why they think like that and how is the situation in the team. Because as I mentioned, it's definitely, like a team effort. Yes, once again, we are talking about who should, from who is expected to lead one or another effort. But
do you think it's like people thinking, okay, this is more like product manager?
I can give you like
leading.
a
Why,
lot
why I
of...
should take a look at why the developer should even think about
I
it?
can give you a lot of successful companies where product designer set up the vision. For example, Airbnb, it's product design-led company. I can give you a lot of great examples of software engineers who led vision and mission. For example, Linear app, it's super successful application. I strongly believe it will replace the Jira one day, and it means it doesn't matter, once again, maybe yes, it's expected that someone would gonna lead, but there are many examples that not only product managers are doing it.
But no, on the other case, on the other side, let's say Airbnb itself, and speaking of Airbnb, I think like it's very, very 2 important things. One is CEO of the company is ex or current product designer himself. And they also, I think, reshaped their product manager role, right? And I think they had to even choose whether they want to go to product market or something. But what is even more interesting in their setup, it would be interesting to hear from them, those who are working in that company, like that basically most of the decisions, as I understand, are basically made top down when it comes to product. So actually, like on one hand, we could say, yes, like Brian is making the vision as a designer, but well, he's a CEO at the end of the day, and he's the only like product basically person there.
But does CEO is a discipline? Exactly,
Yes,
like
probably not.
Yeah, like this is your title and responsibilities. We have once company head, you are engineer, product manager, like and
we have designers as a head of companies
yes,
at Wix.
yeah,
right?
yeah, and many by the way successful moves from UX to company heads happened at Wix, and so it means it's like not a discipline. It's really like what you achieved and what you want like to do. And regarding Airbnb, so even if it is from top to bottom, like sometimes it definitely works. Sometimes, and I really love when people, like when we're going from bottom to top, because there's a lot of initiatives and people really love to work in that way. And but sometimes you have such a strong visionaries in your company, and we can think about Steve Jobs. Like he shaped everything. He was into every detail in Apple.
Indeed. I would like to move on to the next question that we asked that surprised me even more than the previous one. And I think we are going from little surprises that they were already big ones to huge surprises, and it's user research. It surprised me a lot.
Really?
Honestly.
Why?
Why? Because I felt that it's a think of both as well. Like this one is for me the most clear one that it's a both thing. If both we don't know about it, it will be hard. So maybe let's take a look at the data, because it shows that product designers believe it's a work of product designers, where like other professions was a bit more distributed evenly. But it felt for me like, if I don't do as a product manager, if I don't do user research, if I don't talk to users, if I don't look at where they are clicking, if I don't look at the data, if I don't do research, competitors, I am not a good product manager. So it's not that, and I think the same about the product designer, by the way. Both needs to do design. So I was expecting on this one like a huge win on both. Like it was my expectation on this one.
I love to say that UX without user research is not UX. It's simple as that. That's why, for me, this one is not shocking, because we are building tools for users. We need to understand user needs, user motivations, user pain points. By talking with them, by creating surveys, we can really dig deep what the issues we're having, and we can really incorporate it to our possible solutions. So I agree with you that everyone should talk with them, with people. Even, I will give you an example of forum of one of the Wix products, and forum group did a lot of did a lot and doing right now a lot of user interviews, and what we changed their process is that we actually involved other disciplines, not only product managers but also engineers, QA, business analysts. And by talking with Vytenis, company head of Forum, so for me it was, wow, it really changed the perception of the team, the ownership of the team. Mm-hmm. So maybe it is expected, from a product designer that they would lead this effort, they would own it, but it's super important that everyone in the team, product managers and other disciplines, would be involved.
I have a controversial question for you about this, Dovydas.
Let's go.
I didn't plan to ask, but I thought that now, while talking, I thought it's a great question. In the survey, it shows some people answer user researcher. It should be in charge of research. What do you think about having a specific profession that is in charge of the research?
User researcher is a sub-discipline of product design, of user experience. And I always think, what is better, to have a broader view as a profession, as a discipline, or really try to go into, one specific area. And that specific area, by the way, it's not small, it's huge. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different techniques and methods to do user research, and you can really become an expert in that specific field. But what I'm always thinking about is that, if one person will do a user research, it means he or she owns everything. That person shapes the product, because they are only people who are talking with the users. That means they can understand in the way they want to understand. We are professionals. We are, we are listening. We understand what we are saying.
They know how to make the right question without
exactly.
leading.
But the main thing is that we are shaping the product.
Yeah.
Because they had transferred the knowledge to product designer, to product manager. And I believe in this profession strongly believe, but I think it's a must that not only user researcher but product managers and designer would join, and that user researcher would enable them to do it without even that person.
Yeah, I feel that sometimes when you have a user researcher in the team, the product manager, especially the product manager, becomes lazy and stop talking to users. And it's the worst thing that can happen in a product when the person that is there, part of the team, is just not talking. Designers tend not to do it. Designers, even though they have a user researcher, still talk to users, but it especially hurts product managers. So I have this double feeling mix about it, because preparing this survey, I talked with one user researcher about how they shape the questions, and I really got lots of knowledge to prepare a great survey. So I felt the value, right? It helped me a lot. But on the other hand, I have seen product managers getting too comfortable and not talking to users.
I'll even add, I'm actually a little disappointed with the results. Because if you look into the graph of PM answers, it's actually not that much PMs thinking that they should take it. And
but there is a lot of both. If you combine both and PM,
yeah.
I'm happy. Because they both means it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel that I wouldn't be disappointed. I think both and PM, it shows that PM still thinks is important. I would expect to have more both in both professions.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if let's say in a team you have a designer who's doing a lot of interviews, he hears a lot of feedback of what your users need, comes up with, let's say, feature requests and things like that. And product manager, they are usually influencing the, as we saw, product vision and roadmaps more. Mm-hmm. And then, you might have this disconnect depending on...
But they shouldn't influence more. But this is, I think, the problem we are seeing here is that we believe that some people needs to influence where it's a team effort.
And also, how can you influence if you're not talking with
users,
people who are using it?
Yeah.
So
and at this part, then you start having those filters. You have a broken telephone effect a little, and in that case, I would even say there's the risk of having that if you have a user researcher in the team, or you have only UX designer doing the user interviews, and you yourself, you distance from that. You just hear those opinions. You have a filter then, and there is a risk. It might be great, but it might also be a disaster if you misinterpret, what other people are saying.
Yeah, just 2 cents regarding user research. I strongly believe in them. I strongly believe them. I believe they are doing really great job, and they're really helping companies. And at Wix we also have a few great user researchers, and they are empowering us, product managers and product designers, to make the right user interviews. So this is once again the mentality of the persons. Maybe someone really could say, okay, because I have user research, I will stop doing interviews.
But there is a lot of... I think I haven't seen a single company inside Wix, single team inside Wix, that had a user research and the PMs stopped talking to users. And it happened every single time. And it's so sad to see from the outside.
Yeah, and this is about fixed or growth mindset, in my opinion. If you have a fixed mindset, so, okay, I have a discipline who is in charge of something or is expected to do something, and that's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And if you have a growth mindset, okay, so let me learn the way how to talk with the users. I want to do it more. I want to practice.
Look,
I want to.
I will put it in a different perspective, because there is another. It's not specific on this topic, but just as an example, a lot of times happen that software developers don't test their code because we have a QA, and it's exactly the same problem. So it does
same thought.
Does it mean we don't need QAs in the teams?
I think we would need a separate podcast
topic,
for that.
But it's exactly the same problem, right? And it's very, very controversial. And I think let's move on, because we have still we are a lot of time already in the podcast, and I have 2 more graphs that I want to take a look at.
Let's go.
And the first one is about validation. It was about the usability testing before its launch and so on and so forth. Huge surprise, because it's again led to one specific profession. Let's take a look at the graph. It's by everyone thinking that is a product designer work. What do you think about this? What is your take?
Come on, totally expected, no?
You think?
Yeah.
Have you ever done usability testing?
No, for sure.
No?
But you should try.
I'm terrible at design.
No,
No,
but-
usability testing.
Yeah, but regarding validation, so as I mentioned, it's really connected to user research.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But in research, we had product managers saying, yes, hey, I'm here, it's my work. But we moved on to actually continue the research because this is kind of a continuation. It's like, not my job anymore.
it's
now.
validation of your solution. It means, like with user research, so what are you doing? You're defining the problem you want to solve. You later on, you explore different possible solution. You're trying to design and deliver, and you're trying, like to validate it even before we are launching it. And the solution, it's not, even if it is design and deliver, it's not only UX. It's not product designer. It's the product manager and product designer and the whole team. And in order,
But are we not saying now in every single question? This is a both?
yeah,
Or-
but this is what I strongly believe. Like as I said, there's different expectations from a different discipline. But I strongly believe in the companies where team is involved in each part. It's forget about ego.
Yeah, for sure. But someone needs to take a flag, and carry it. Like even in this case, let's say validation. So let's say as a product, you bring a problem, right? You need to solve some specific problem. And whether you have solved that problem, like you need validation, but not in that sense that we asked here, right? And most likely we'll only know once you launch the product, once your users start using
It's
the
too
product.
late.
But so now let's separate two things. So you have a problem, and you have a product, how this problem is being addressed, and then you have like how usable is your solution, right? And I think those are three different things. And the fact that you will bring to someone to do usability testing, to click around, whether they understand things, you're actually validating a very different problem than the very original product problem you try to solve, right? Like if you need some, let's say, specific feature, like a new app, I don't know, let's say whatever, you have a product problem in your product you need to solve. And like that, you understand it, it's a very different problem from how it's being solved, right? Like, because whether it's usable or not, that's a very different thing. Like, let's say you created a new dashboard, right? Which is supposed to solve a specific problem. And there are a lot of products, and that's very widely known. If we would talk here with startup communities, they would say, what validation? You just roll out to production. You go to production. Then you will understand whether you have solved your problem, right? And whether you have solved it well, whether did users understand it, was it usable? Could you have less actions to solve that problem? That's a very different problem. Right, and I think this is where, in my opinion, and that's, I assume that people think that that's why product designers need to solve that problem. Now you have, let's say, a new page or a new component, whatever. Is it good enough? Do users understand it? Because when you do usability testing, let's not forget another thing. If you go to relatively random people, we don't have that much buy-in to look at the actual product problem, because they're not paying for that. We just know we're clicking around. We're looking, okay, do you understand it? Enough steps? No, yes. And yes, that's a validation. Is it a good product, But it's not necessarily the validation of the actual high-level product problem we're trying to solve. That's at least what I think.
Yeah. First of all, don't get me wrong. I agree that validation is what is expected from a product designer. But in my opinion, you can validate not only a product when you launched it, you can really validate your hypothesis. Also, user research, validation connects to each other. If we are validating only after we release, so I think we can spend a lot of expensive time of engineers and other disciplines, because maybe it doesn't solve the actual problem.
I think it depends a lot on the product you're building. It depends a lot on the situation of your team. There's a lot of points.
Yeah.
And
maybe there's a myth I hear a lot from a different companies, different designers, and when you're asking, are you doing usability sessions, and saying no, it's way too much expensive. Like we need a lot of time to prepare. We need so many different things, like in order to happen. Our CEO is not allowing it because of many reasons, and I think it's a myth which I really trying, like to change, because usability, it doesn't cost a lot.
It's quite cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Like way more expensive is to build a product which is not usable or doesn't solve a problem. And I'm always saying, look, you can make a usability session each week. What you just need to do, it's just not to make the full-blown usability testing, but you can make Gorilla usability testing as your daily routine or weekly routine. So it means it will be only around 20 minutes of task. You can really, grab people from coffee and really, to say, okay, can you use it? Yes, maybe it's not your target audience, not target group, but you can still learn a lot of things what doesn't work. Also, what I mentioned before, it's about validating your hypothesis. And this is also, if product manager is saying, okay, this is a problem, I'm always saying to designers, you need to challenge it. Mm-hmm. You need to look into the numbers. You need to really understand, is it a real problem? How many people it's gonna affect? How big the change will be when we'll solve it? Is it really on priority? Maybe we should reshape it, because we should select one problem and we will have a lot of different solutions.
Yeah.
So by validating even a hypothesis, a problem definition, so this is, like a start, what you can do.
And I think usability testing should not be only done once before we do the development, also after you do the development.
For sure.
And I have, we have here people behind the scenes that I have worked with, and we did a usability test in 1 week of one feature. It's very exhausting to do such a long periods, but it was very important for us. We did it, and he can say the results, but it was very surprising, and we changed a lot of it, and it took us actually back to square one, because we saw, even after development, it didn't work. Users don't understand it. They're expecting something totally different. We got it wrong. Let's not continue with this direction, and let's come back.
Let's not forget that we are not our users. Our colleagues are not our users.
Yes.
And
our users are our users.
Exactly. Another great example is that one team recently, we worked on recurring events, and we wanted to check the content. What, how can we really adapt, and make really good content. And we did a small Gorilla usability testing.
In the office?
In the office. We changed everything. And by everything, I don't mean that the whole product, but one model which has some complex things, because people didn't understood. Designers, product managers, they thought that this is a brilliant, and they wanted just to check the content. And we said, okay, so people do not understand. And now it's released, it works perfectly. It's a highly used feature. And if we wouldn't, do that testing, like a short 20 minutes testing with people who are using Google Calendar and so on, so it's kind of target group. So yeah, it would be
amazing that we decided to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. But let's move on. We have one last graph, and we leave the best for the end. The big surprise, in my opinion, and it was about quantitative testing, A/B testing, very connected to our previous topic, right? Who should own it? Wow, surprise. Before we show it, I don't know if we have shown it yet. No, probably not. What do you think, Dovydas? What did you expect on this one? And don't tell me both again, please.
By saying both, once again, I want to clarify, it's not that it's only shared, but it's, it should work together. But I thought that product manager would lead this.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Tomas?
I don't think our viewers have seen already the...
No, but let's not show it. What do you think?
Yeah. So quantitative testing, I think it's a bit tricky one because my first thought would be, okay, like, is it really either of them? Like, coming back to our like previous episode that we talked, who should own it? Like, everyone should be involved. There is some overlap, but at the end of the day, you still have business data analysts looking at it. So I thought that what I expected in the results, that there would be a bit more confusion. Like, that, there would be like more gradualities, people having different opinions, and that's it. In my opinion, like, again, like, let's separate, like, in very classical and cliche terms, like, there is accountability and there is ownership. So yes, everyone, should like feel ownership. But when it comes to accountability, I for sure go for product manager. That was my initial thought. Why? Because, like, basically, look, you have a problem, you need to solve the problem. Numbers need to show that you have solved the problem.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, what I think, it also, depends on the exact KPIs that you were looking, because there are some KPIs which are more about, usability and so on. Like
heat maps, for example.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like the high level quantitative analysis, like, okay, is it working? Like, let's monitor it. I would expect PM, like, of course, I would expect everyone, hey, is this working? Like, we just worked on this thing for 2 months. Like, are users using it, right? Like, I would expect everyone to raise it, and that's, it happens often. But at the end of the day, I would say, okay, PM should...
So let's look at it.
Let's look at it,
because it was very surprising, because we had 2 different opinions here by the 2 groups. Product managers thought or told us is their thing, and product designer said is my thing, is product designer's thing. And I was surprised and happy at the same time, because I felt like they both care about data so much that they both think they should be involved. And I'm much happier than they chose themselves than rather both, in that sense that it shows how important is data for developing great product. That was my takeoff.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I expected that this part would be led by product managers more, but it's not a surprise for me that UXers once again step up, and we really are doing it, and we really owning, like this part also. We should be data informed. We should know how successful our solution is, and once again, quantitative testing. It's also about task completion. It's about success rate. It's about numbers of errors. So it's satisfaction rating. So it's many different things. Maybe, like we imagine that it's only A/B testing, or heat maps. So many things what we can learn. It's really, not only A/B test. And I was really thinking, about this topic in general, collaboration between product manager and product designer. So for me, it's a question really, like, is it a leadership, or like if you're leading, is it just you are setting up an A/B test? Like this is, because no matter who is setting up, maybe in one company it will be product manager, in another company it will be business analyst. Yeah. So, it doesn't matter. But, like as we can see from the graphics, both of them, we are, like really into the details. Okay. So does it really improved, what problem you had? So for me, it's, as I said, I expected a bit more of product manager, but I'm super happy that product designers...
This one was the one that made me more happy of all the results, because it proved our previous point from the previous podcast 100%.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I must say, like, I have, tears of joy, like even in the last weeks, there were multiple times when content designers or UX designers come to me and say, hey Thomas, like, do we really need to care about this? Just look, how many little users will really see that. Just ignore it, and when we think, okay, amazing, like things are working, right? We're challenging with data.
Yes.
That's amazing. Yes. But at the same time, I'm really like, it's interesting to see this graph, because like, we asked about who should primarily own it, right? And that's the interesting part for me, that product designers think that they should primarily...
But in my opinion, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that both want to own it, because it means that it's very important for the success of the product. Yeah. If it's like, I care so much that I want to own it, I want to step in and I want to do it, and it's fine for me that either one or the other will own it, but it's important that everyone looks at it.
Yeah, and once again, if you're doing usability testing and later you're doing A/B testing, so it means you're doing qualitative and quantitative testing, and they must come together.
Yeah.
Quantitative test is saying what people are doing, and qualitative is saying why they are doing. So if you know why we are doing, but you talked or did usability testing only with 5 people, it's hard, to understand if it is really, everyone is doing. So that's why it's super important to look into the data.
I agree. Well, we are almost more than 1 hour in, and it's actually double the time that our previous episode. And I think
you invited me, that's why.
Yeah, actually, when we thought, we said well, if Dovydas comes, we will need a bit more time. But I'm very happy. I think we have had a very nice talk. Maybe let's close it. What do you think, Dovydas? How do you feel now after this 1 hour long talk?
Yeah, I really enjoyed. So thank you for the invitation. Maybe we will sit a few times more. Let's see. But my message, what I really wanted to give is that even if people are thinking that product managers owns what and when, and UXers, product designers are leading the why and how, it's super important that you would have smart people in your team which would be interested and know about what our discipline is doing. And a clear cross-discipline methodology, it's a key to success. It's not about ego. It's not about if someone step on your, shoes. It's not about boundaries. It's about team who has the vision, the mission they believe in. We are working together, and we are building and solving people problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're very right. Tomas, how are you?
I think I made a few realizations throughout our discussion. One, I think it's actually okay to have some level of overlap, especially for the benefit of getting closer to your users. That's, I think, really important if you want to make sure that you're targeting right, that you're launching, that you need as least amount of arrows to shoot into the actual target, that you need to shoot at. That's one realization. The other is, now I'm wondering in my head, and speaking with you, looking at those results, I think product designers are doing an amazing job shadowing product managers. And, there might be multiple reasons. There might be, maybe the PM role in a specific organization doesn't involve some of those, things that we listed. Maybe the product manager still needs to step up a little in some of the things, and product designers are covering for them, right? Or maybe they care more, or there might be other reasons. But I think it's amazing what they bring on the table, and that's really, really valuable. Mario, what do you think?
Well, when we started, not the podcast, but talking about this podcast, I had a different opinion. I thought that there was a more clear boundary. And through the results of the survey, through talking with you about what do you think, and also during this long hour, my opinion have changed. I think I realized that the boundary is much more blurry than what I thought originally, and it's much better that we have more involvement in both professions in much more of the things that I thought before. So I'm very happy. I think I grew also today talking with you about all these topics. I'm very, very, very happy about it. And I have to say thank you for watching. If you have reached until this moment, remember, leave a comment. You can reach us on LinkedIn. Tell us what you have thought about today's. Disagree with what we have said. You will have the results of the survey. We will publish it a few days after the podcast comes live. And if you want to propose a new topic for future, just also leave us a comment. Or if you want to be the next Dovydas, also let us know. We are open for it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and until the next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.